Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 43 of Beer versus Ivy, or in this case, Ivy versus nobody, because unfortunately, Sai had something come up this week again. So, once again, making the call to the pen, getting our closer, Mr. Brayden Conrad. He's back looking as good as ever, like Craig Kimbrell does. Brayden, thank you so much for coming back. How are we doing?
Of course. Glad to be back for another version of Ivy and Ivy. I think we should just kind of rename the show. Go on a little what do they call it? Rebrand session. Ivy and Ivy
spinoff.
Yeah, a little spinoff. Feeling good. I will say it was a bit of a depressing weekend. Notre Dame ended up getting absolutely fooled by NIU on Saturday. So that wasn't a good start to the weekend. And then Atlanta dropped an embarrassing game versus Steelers. I'm losing in both my fantasy leagues, and I lost all my parlays yesterday. So, we've been worse. We'll be back next week, I'm sure. But other than that, I'm glad I'm here. Jackson, your Bears got a win yesterday, so you got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good overall. Obviously not happy with the offensive performance. I think the best thing you could say about it is that it was offensive. I think that's the easiest way to put it. Caleb Williams under 100 yards in his debut, but the biggest thing, and I like that some of these people pointed it out, is that he did not make the big mistake in the fourth quarter like Justin Fields would have, where he didn't take a big sack. He didn't turn the ball over all game long. Only took 2 sacks on 36 dropbacks all game. So did a really good job just trying to battle through it. I was expecting it to look a little better. Like I wasn't expecting like 275 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever in his debut, but I was hoping for something a little bit better than 94 yards and no touchdowns. Although Keenan Allen should have caught a touchdown, but that's looking good fantasy wise. I need Brandon Ayuk to go off. I need him to get at least 15 points tonight so I can beat our very own Jack Gaffney. So Brock Purdy, look to your newly highest paid wide receiver, please. I need money moves. I need money moves from the money man.
He just got the bag, so he's gonna get a few catches tonight. Yeah, I might have made the mistake in my other league. I started Jared Goff last night over Brock Purdy, and Goff only put up like 12 points or something.
Yeah, I think in our league, because I have him on my bench, he put up like 16 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
very underperforming. It was disappointing.
The primetime games have been good so far. I will give it that.
Yeah.
Thursday night in Kansas City was good. I didn't really watch Eagles versus Packers in Brazil, so I can't really comment on that. But first Sunday night game going to overtime in Detroit, I'll take it.
Yeah. And tonight will be a good one too. Rodgers see if Rodgers can make it past 8 seconds he only played last year.
3 snaps, I think, or it was 3 or 8 snaps. I can't remember.
Yeah, something with an 8. I can't remember either, but so. And we need McCaffrey. Anywho. We need big McCaffrey moves tonight too. Anyway, baseball time. Here we go.
Yes, baseball time it is. Baseball time it is. It's divisional storylines, and we have been focusing a lot on the Yankees and the Orioles for good reason. They're 2 of the best teams in the American League. They've been battling it out for the American League East title all season long. But outside of one comment he made to a fan that I'm not going to get into, it has been a spectacular season for the Boston Red Sox. Jarren Duran, if not for the 2-headed monster with the Yankees and Bobby Witt Jr., I think Jarren Duran would get a lot more serious MVP consideration. The 28-year-old center fielder is hitting .292, .328, .517 with 21 home runs, 72 RBIs, and I believe has a WAR of 8.7 at this point. He has been otherworldly for the Red Sox this year.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. If it wasn't for Judge or Witt, he might be getting a lot more attention. He's also leading the league in plate appearances and at bats, and leads the league in with 44 doubles and 13 triples. I mean, this guy is hitting the cover off the ball here, and all the while he's stealing 32 bases. So he's been a big hand for the Red Sox in their little bit of success.
Yeah, it's not going to be a playoff season, unfortunately, for them. But
Mm-mm.
to have someone like that, I don't know what his contract situation is, but the fact
2029, he will be a free agent.
oh, so they have him for another 5 years. They're going to basically have him for the rest of his prime
Well,
to
he is
build.
arbitration eligible next year, so he'll. I guess what does that mean? He can get a bigger contract, right?
So
Or
yeah, so either they'll give him an extension, or they can basically put it off for one more year.
okay, because he's
So
on a 1 year deal now, but he's not free agent eligible till 2029.
yeah, so he will be arbitration eligible for a while. But yeah, so he's been obviously fantastic. I wanted to look up his defensive stats really quickly. Because I feel like he's been really solid, if not really, really good in the field this year. He's obviously got tremendous speed. Yeah, he
Oh,
has
make 4
nine
errors, yeah.
outs above average. He's in the 91st percentile and arm value. His arm strength's okay. But yeah, he's been one of the just overall. Basically, he's a complete 5-tool star for the
Right,
Boston Red Sox. And to
right.
have him and Rafael Devers, who knows what happens with Trevor Story. Cedane Rafaela has had his moments for the Red Sox this year. So if they can continue to find some more guys like Connor Wong has finally kind of broken out a little bit. Masataka Yoshida's had a little bit of a disappointing season, but I mean, Willier Abreu's been good. Tyler O'Neill's hit 27 homers this year. So they're building a nice little core of hitters there out in Boston.
Yeah, I know the pitching's been a problem. That they don't. A lot of 4 out of their 5 starters have an ERA under over 4. So pitching.
Yeah, I mean Tanner Houck has
right
been their best. He's with 324. So I mean Cutter Crawford's had some success. Brian Bayo, Pivetta, even Cooper Criswell. So if they can add like another starter, maybe get someone in the infield, maybe I think this Red Sox team could really, really compete for a long time coming. So, and a lot of that obviously has to do with where they're at with Jarren Duran and Rafael Devers. They have their 2 cornerstone position players. So, just keep finding some more cornerstones, and this could be a 3-headed monster in the race for the AL East, considering where the Rays and the Blue Jays are heading. They're heading closer and closer to rebuilds.
Yeah, and then can they compete in the playoffs with guys like Boston and New York and Baltimore? That's going to be the big question. Because if Juan Soto stays with New York, and then Baltimore's got their young core ready to go, so it's going to be a very interesting AL playoffs the next couple of years.
Yeah, and that actually leads in perfectly to one of the teams that the Red Sox have been trying to knock out this year. And that's the Kansas City Royals, because last week we talked about that they were donezo for the division. They had lost 6 in a row. They were 6.5 or 5.5 games back.
Yeah, they were
Look
far
at them
back.
now.
Yeah,
they're back. They've won 4 straight and just swept the Minnesota Twins. Rocco Baldelli called the Twins out, saying it was an unprofessional series for them. So the Twins are in shambles. The Royals are back in it. And like I said, they're only 2.5 games back from Cleveland with less than 20 games to go.
Yeah. And now they enter a tough part of the schedule. They got Yankees for 3 and they got Pittsburgh for 3, both away. So, but they only gave up 2 earned runs in 1 game versus Minnesota. They shut out Minnesota in 2 games. And they also in their first win versus Cleveland to end the series to avoid a sweep there. They only gave up one. So their pitching has been really good. Seth Lugo, I think, had that first shutout. No, he had the last game in Cleveland where they only gave up one run. But
Yes, it was Reagans and Waka, and Lucas Urseg has picked up 3 saves
and
over
he
the
was
last 4
struggling in
games.
there. He had a couple losses in their losing streak. So having him back from will be very important for their later innings.
Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting. We talked about it a little bit last week, but the Guardians have such an easy schedule to end the year. They have 3 against the White Sox on the road, 4 against Tampa Bay, but then they have 4 against Minnesota, and then 3 at St. Louis, 2 against Cincinnati, and 3 against Houston at home to end the year. So that will be interesting how that plays out. But then, like you said, Kansas City's got the Yankees, Detroit, San Francisco, Washington, and Atlanta mixed in with that Pirates series. So it's a much tougher road for Kansas City.
And the Yankees beat the Cubs 2 out of 1, but the Cubs pitching actually did really well for this, toughest lineup in the major leagues right now. So if the Yankee or the Royals can get their pitching figured out, I think they'll be okay versus series. And if you take 2 out of 1, this would be big for them, but not just them, the Orioles as well, as there's only a half game difference between the Yankees and the Orioles right now.
Yeah, and they're arguably going to have their 3 best in this series against the Yankees. They're going to have Brady Singer tonight against Carlos Rodon, Seth Lugo versus Marcus Stroman on Tuesday, and then Cole Reagans versus Luis Gil on Wednesday. That game's going to be on Prime Video. Quick side note, in terms of just business news, Amazon just bought the rights or is close to buying the rights for all those teams on Bally Sports.
Yeah.
So next year, in addition to watching it on cable, you could watch like all the teams on Bally Sports on Amazon Prime.
So I thought the whole thing with Bally Sports was that they got bankrupt, or they were bankrupt, and that all those teams were looking to go somewhere else for their broadcasting rights or something.
Yeah, so it's complicated. Neither of us are business majors in the slightest. So I actually wrote about an article about this because obviously this impacts the Milwaukee Bucks too, because they're part of the Bally Network. But at least from the New York Post, they did declare for bankruptcy. Yes, they've been in Chapter 11 bankruptcy since March of 2023. Excuse me. And they're hoping that with this deal and others that they're doing, that they could prove that they won't be bankrupt in November. I think they're trying to see a judge by then. But the teams that would be impacted are the Tigers, the Royals, Marlins, Brewers, Rays, and they also do it for Cleveland, Minnesota, and Texas.
And so this would be an Amazon is just going to stream their broadcast, like they're not going to have a separate broadcast crew or team.
Yeah, I don't think so. I obviously for like the big games that they'll have themselves. Like obviously this one between the Yankees and the Royals, they'll have their own thing. Sure. But I think essentially means they'll keep all the same crews and everything. It's just a matter of the Amazon will be kind of footing the bill a little bit to run it, which considering how much money Amazon makes, it's not going to be that much of a drop in the bucket for them.
No, and they're probably going to end up making more money because I'm sure you had to pay some sort of subscription or something, and
$20 a month.
Good night. See, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. Why do I? This is like the NFL. Why do I have to pay $800 every year to watch every NFL game?
Yeah,
No.
that's a but here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would least suggest for that is you could just buy like a digital like TV antenna. So you don't have to pay for cable. So you get all your local channels on there. So for NFL season, you get CBS, Fox, and what's the other one? Oh no, it's just CBS and Fox for those two.
Yeah.
And then they still do the primetime games on ABC through ESPN
Uh-huh.
for Monday Night Football. If it just be Thursday night, you'd be screwed. But then you just pay for Amazon Prime for that. But then there's the games on Peacock and Apple TV.
Peacock's really the one that pisses me off. Like, why do they even have a wild card game? Like last year, they had a wild card game that if you wanted to watch a NFL playoff game, you had to pay for it. Like,
yeah, and I
I'm not
remember
going to the game.
Circling this back to baseball for a second. Like, there's this whole thing of the whole fact. Remember, there was that they had like early morning baseball games on Peacock.
Oh yeah.
There was I remember specifically there was like a Cubs game at like 11:30 on the road. I think it was against the Pirates or is at home. I can't remember who they were playing, but I remember there was like an 11:30 game on Peacock. It was like early Sunday morning baseball or something is what they were calling it.
I Apple TV, I think did that too. I remember there being a very early like Cubs game on like Apple TV, like at 11 o'clock or something. Might have been this year even.
Yeah, and I think last year the Miles Mastrobuoni home run against the Cardinals, I think that was on Apple TV. So there's just a ton of streaming services to get, which depending on the prices, somehow actually still might be less than cable, which is insane.
I mean,
cable is like $200 to $250 a month.
Right. And in that sense, it is a win, but it's just like, man, like, why do I have to get like 8 different streaming services just because I want to watch one game? Like the Cubs, for example, hey, you got to get marquee. Lucky for us, like we have the Fire Stick thing and we kind of, get it jailbroke, whatever, we kind of go against the rules. But anyway, you're watching, I would say 70 to 80% of the Cubs games on there. And then, they have their games on ESPN when they make it to Sunday night. But there's only a few games that are on Apple TV and Roku or whatnot. But
yeah. So, or like, I think there's like, how there's like Sling TV and all of those kind of like other weird ones. That I think there's one of the, I think Fubo is the only one that has marquee on it.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted to go down that route, but yeah, it sucks because essentially, if let's say you're a fan, we'll keep it with the Royals. Let's say you're a fan of the Royals, you don't want to pay for cable anymore, which means you have to get Amazon Prime for the local games. You'll have to buy like a digital antenna to get. Well, I don't even know if you could use the digital antenna on ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball. So then you'd have to get ESPN Plus.
That's expensive. You'd
have to get ESPN Plus, then Apple TV, Peacock, occasionally.
See, I mean, and if you're not into like TV shows, like binge watching TV shows, like what are you going to use like these subscriptions for?
Right. I mean, yeah, that's true too. And then heck, even you might even have to get like Disney Plus as well. Because there's that game between the Falcons and the Jags last year for Toy Story that was on Disney Plus.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I just watched that game. I think that was on ESPN because that was in
London.
Yeah. I just watched that on ESPN. Well, you have to get Nickelodeon or whatever because they have that Nickelodeon game.
Oh yeah.
For Nickelodeon.
Well, that's Paramount.
Oh,
that's Paramount Plus.
Yeah, there's another one.
So that's 5. Was that 5 or 6 streaming services?
Yep.
I don't know if Paramount does that. I don't think Paramount does anything with baseball necessarily. So you have to get at least 4 or 5 different streaming services if you want to watch every single game, or pay out the wazoo for MLB TV.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just,
Which I think
it's
is like
just
what,
annoying.
$150 or something.
YouTube TV. Yeah. I think it's on it. But honestly, it is worth it because you do get a lot of access
I'm
to a
not
lot
even
of.
talking about YouTube TV. I'm talking about like MLB,
Oh,
like
MLB
their
TV is
thing.
very well. And plus, you have to deal with the blackouts and everything. Because when I was in
Yeah,
Arizona and I would try to watch some Cubs games like on the road or whatever, they have like that free game of the day and the Cubs would be there. But it's, oh, you can't watch this because you're not in the area. It's like, what?
but then there's like people in Iowa
Yeah.
who couldn't watch the games either. It's like the AAA team is here. Why can't I watch the guys who are actually in the pros for the team I probably support?
Right, exactly. They need to get. And I remember there was that big argument of MLB black, and there still is about blackouts across the country and whatnot. But yeah, it's something that they need to try to get rid of and whatever. I like how we talk
Yeah.
about the Royals, and now we're here and talking about streaming services and whatnot. I
Well, I
guess it
mean, it does.
impacted them a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, it impacts 9 MLB franchises. So,
Right.
yeah, but and obviously, like I said, it does impact the Royals too. So it is. We're still somewhat on message here. Um, but let's go. Let's talk. Let's go to a team that should be blacked out forever, based on how they play in the first half, but not the second half,
Not the
because
second half.
the Oakland/Sacramento/Las Vegas A's could be looking really, really good in 2025. They have the 10th best record in baseball since the All-Star break at 25-21. Lawrence Butler and Brent Rooker have been at an all-star level this year. Rooker is hitting nearly 300 with 33 home runs, 99 and 99 RBIs. And Lawrence Butler, I believe, has 20 plus home runs as well for Oakland. So, what do you think about the A's looking into next year, even with a subpar record this year?
I don't think anything about the A's. I don't ever think about the A's. No. We're looking at Rooker's contract because I mentioned to you, like, oh, maybe these are guys that they end up trading. Rooker is going to be 30 years old and very soon, November 1st. Yeah. So, first of all, I mean, he's tearing the cover off the ball. In his last 28 days, he's hitting 330, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs. It'll be very interesting if the A's decide, well, this guy's going to be 30 years old next season. He's got some value this offseason at least. Do the A's look on to move on from him, move on from Butler? And I didn't look at Butler's contract, but I think if the A's you have to yet, because this guy's 30, you're not going to want he's going to want money because he's on a 1-year deal, arbitration eligible next year. So, you're going to have to start paying him more. I don't know. I'm a guy that likes to send guys out for prospects. Like, I would rather get your prospects in and then start working that way. So I think they move on from Rooker in the offseason. If not, wait till the All-Star break. But
yeah, just to answer your question about Butler, he just turned 24 in July. He has at least 2 more years of pre-arbitration, so he's probably got close to like 5 years of team control.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to Rooker, whoever's going to trade for him, they're going to have 3 years of team control because he has 3 years worth of arbitration left before he's an unrestricted free agent in 2028. So if there's a team looking for a DH or an occasional outfielder, that's a big, big bat to have. Chicago Cubs. What?
Who? I don't know. Yeah, never heard of them. No, I agree with you. And I think teams are willing to make that deal, though, too, because you look at Juan Soto, and Juan Soto is going to be on the market this year. But you look at the combination between him and Judge of how good it is to have 2 high-quality bats like that. And if Rooker has proven himself that he can be a higher end bat, teams are going to want that, and teams will keep him for the 3 years that he has of control. And so I think the A's may look again to trade on Rooker, but with Butler, I think they probably keep him around since he still has 2 years of pre-arbitration. They don't have to spend money with him yet.
Yeah, so they're gonna have him for a long time. So I think at the end of the day, it probably makes more sense for the A's to move on from him when his value is at the highest it will probably ever be.
Right.
But we'll see what they decide to do in the end. But you know, what Brent Rooker might need if he ends up getting traded this offseason?
Oh, I might got it this week. Insurance.
What kind of insurance?
Home insurance.
Right, you are.
Yeah.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope. Local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And we do call our guy Jeff Ortepney at 704-464-4544. Let him know that Beer versus Ivy and Third Down Thursday sent you, and that let's see, what's a good one? That oh man, I can't think of one. Do you have one, Brayden?
Cy looks better in Cubby Blue. Nope, I don't got one.
Or I was gonna say, Jeff is a. I can't think of one either. All right, sorry, Jeff. We couldn't think of one this go around. We've done so many already. Let's get a move on. You know what we can say is that it is an absolute brawl for the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves. They're getting into the boxing ring, and that's because the Mets have gone 9-1 in their last 10, including a 9-game winning streak, and they are now even with the Atlanta Braves for the last wild card spot in the National League. The Diamondbacks are ahead by a game and a half. The Padres are ahead by 2 games. Fun fact also, Padres, best record in baseball since the All-Star break, 31-15, for those at home who are wondering. At the end of the day, when all 162 games have been played, who is going to be the last team in that will get probably shellacked by LA or Philly?
I'm sorry, one more time. I had a little connection spot there.
No, you're good. I was just asking, who do you think between the Braves and the Mets is going to be that last team in?
I'm still going with the Braves. But man, the Mets are pitching overall better than I think the Mets. I mean, yeah, the Mets are better pitching overall, even though that the Braves have Sale, who could win the Triple Crown this year. But I still like the Braves. I don't think the Mets, first year manager, right? You kind of have a younger core-ish around you, so there's not a lot of experience there. And the Braves have been to the playoffs many times before, so I would go with the Braves. But the Mets, in their little winning streak they did not give up a lot of runs. Their most runs they gave up was 3 runs in a game, and they only did that twice. Every other game was either 1 run given up or 2.
Yeah, they've done really well. They had a really easy part of their schedule. They picked up some big wins. They split against San Diego, took 2 of 3 from Arizona that sparked this win streak, swept the White Sox with ease, with Jose Quintana getting a win against his former team. Then they swept the Red Sox, and then they just took 2 of 3 from Cincinnati. So it's looking up for the Mets. They still got some tough teams left on their schedule, They have the Phillies for 7 more games this year, including 3 in Philly. They got Washington again, and they have Atlanta right near the end of the season at Truist before ending the year in Milwaukee. So that's going to be no easy pickings for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take a look at the Braves side of things, today's their makeup game with the Reds before they get 2 with Washington, and then they get LA for 4 games, with one of those on Apple TV and one of those on ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball.
Well, at least you get to watch one of them, but you got to pay to watch the other one.
That is true. Just to taking a look at it now for the entire playoff bracket, if the season ended today, the Yankees would be the 1 seed, Cleveland in 2. This is for the American League, obviously.
Okay.
Astros 3, they would be taking on the Twins, and then Orioles as the 4 seed taking on the 5th seeded Kansas City Royals. And then in the NL, the Phillies would be the 1 seed, the Dodgers would be the 2 seed.
I just saw today, that Phillies and Dodgers are very close, or the Phillies are very close in passing the Dodgers in the 1 seed. Am I right? Or at least,
I don't know how old this article is. I'm not getting a date on it, but it's fairly close. There's not a major difference necessarily. But yeah, there's the Dodgers and Phillies are still battling it out for the 1 seed. But right now, it would be Padres hosting the Diamondbacks in the 4-5, and it would be the Mets going on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers in that 3-6. So right now, as it sits, the Braves would be the first team out on the National League side. So the Mets have been very volatile all year long. They've had their horrible stretches, their grimace stretches, their Hawk Tua stretches. So they've been all over the place. But with how they're playing now, I don't think I can make a full determination yet. But all I will say is that series at the end of the year in Atlanta will decide which team makes it to that wild card.
Yeah, I was wildly wrong, though. The Braves are actually a way better pitching team right now than the Mets. The Braves have the second best team ERA in baseball at 3.53. The Mets are 14th at 3.98. So the Mets aren't terrible. But on the other end, the Mets are actually hitting better. The Mets OPS is 10th, and the Braves are 13th in OPS. So Mets are
and I think
better.
And I think it's been more impressive what the Mets have been doing because, yes, the Braves did lose Spencer Strider for the year, but they've still been throwing out Chris Sale, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, much more, I think, a higher talent level considering the Mets have been doing this with Jose Quintana and Sean Manaea this year. No Kodai Senga. Luis Severino is doing things. Like, even if you just want to take a look at it from the pitching side.
I was pulling up the Braves.
David Peterson is starting, and he's a 2.75 ERA.
Oh, that's right.
Tyler
Ronaldo
McGill.
Lopez for the Braves, though, too, has been.
Yes. He was getting a lot of Cy Young consideration early on in the season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's at anymore. Honestly, I think Chris Sale might win Cy Young, honestly.
Well, and I was going to bring up to you, do you think, is it Sale or is it Tariq that can win the Triple Crown? I think right now Sale has a little bit of an edge over him in strikeouts.
Let's see. I haven't even had a look at pitching.
And they should be tied in wins.
Now, is the Triple Crown for like each league, or is it for the entire?
I think
entire league.
I think it's the entire league because it's the league leaders. I mean, unless obviously Sale will win it for the NL and Tariq will win it for the AL.
Okay. So let's see. So that is not what I wanted. Yeah, so Sale has the best ERA, so he's gonna easily hold on. So it's at ERA, wins, and innings pitched. What's the triple count for pitching?
Wins, ERAs, and strikeouts.
Strikeouts. So, oh man, it is really close. Like Sales, like you said, is easily going to win for ERA, but they're tied in wins, and the strikeout difference is only by 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, unless Sale ends up having it, because he only leads it by 0.2 or a little less than 0.2 for ERA.
Oh, so yeah, he leads it by like 0.15.
Yeah. So if Sale ends up having a bad start, he could lose that. Then again, if he has a bad start, he could lose some Cy Young votes as well. But it's an interesting race to keep an eye on. Especially, I don't think they play each other again this year. But
no, they do not. I think I looked at the Brave schedule. They don't have the Tigers again. So, yeah, that'll be certainly interesting to keep an eye on. Yeah, they play Kansas City, but that's the only American League team they play for the rest of the year. So, interesting. But honestly, if I had to make a pick now, I'd probably say the Mets. I think
really
they have a lot more momentum. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, the pitching staff has been really, really solid overall, even without Kodai Senga. So, and shout out to what did I think his name? Carlos Martinez, the manager for the Mets, and what he's been able to do since coming over from the Astros after the Mets lost their darling in Craig Counsell to be able to be in this position. So,
I think we mentioned
Carlos Mendoza.
Yeah, I think we mentioned last week too that the Mets weren't supposed to be this team this year at all, and like Alonso was supposed to be traded at the deadline. Their pitching staff was in shambles because of Kodai being gone and whatnot. So it's very impressive, and you have to point. All fingers have to point to the manager for their success here. So it'll be a fun little NL East matchup here.
Yeah, it'll be fun times to see who can end up getting that last wild card spot. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to the team who, well, yes, they have the biggest division lead in baseball at 9 games. They haven't been there up to snuff their last couple of games. And that's the Milwaukee Brewers, because they just lost to who? They lost a series to the Colorado Rockies, with Brenton Doyle making it the absolute throw of the year. If you haven't had the chance to find it and watch it, please do. Absolutely insane throw. Basically steals it from the right fielder and just throws a laser beam from right center field to third base to get the Rockies to win. If we take a look at it to see where the Brewers have been.
I love that we find any excuse to talk bad about the Brewers.
I mean, what else do we have to talk about?
I know.
We're going to save our Cubs stuff for later. And who cares about the Reds and the Pirates? Let's be real.
I know. I mean, I get it. But yeah, screw the Brewers. Yeah, let's go, Rockies. They already eliminated from the playoffs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, the Brewers have lost 5 of their last 7. They lost 2 of 3 to St. Louis. They lost 2 of 3 to Colorado. They lost the last game of a 4-game set to Cincinnati. And their schedule gets real interesting real quick. They have a quick 6-game road trip out to the West Coast, heading to San Francisco and Arizona. And then they have Philly and Arizona again before playing Pittsburgh and New York to end the year. So they're going to more likely than not win the Central. They'd have to lose 9 games in a row, and the Cubs would somehow have to win 9 games in a row. That's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
No.
So I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna make something up where the Cubs. Oh yeah, it's definitely possible with the Dodgers for 3 games, for the Cubs to sweep the Dodgers, Rockies, and A's. the next 9 games. I'm not that delusional.
Yeah, maybe the
but
Rockies in the A's. Who knows? You mentioned Arizona, and I know we're on the NL Central here, but I the Diamondbacks are leading the league in runs scored. Like, I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit because I kind of have to dig into a little deeper on this one because they were not.
Yeah, and
like
I think they have like the best run differential since the All-Star break at like plus 100 and something. Like they've been like absolutely fantastic. Corbin Carroll has been really good again for them.
And he was terrible like in the first half of the season.
Like major sophomore slump, but
yeah.
I think the Brewers might slip a little bit. They barely will hit like 90 wins at the end of the year. Maybe like 93 I could see because they do have Pittsburgh in there. So, but it's going to be a tough road for them to hit 90. They're at 82 and 61 right now. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows how things
right now,
are all
the
going to
second
shake
half,
out.
They're 27 and 19. Yeah. How about they just lose? They just lose every game they play, and then the Cubs can sneak into the playoffs. We can all be happy.
That's like one of the worst division winners in baseball history.
Hey, they don't ask how you win; they just ask how many you win.
Yeah.
So as long as they get there, that's all that matters.
Oh my god! Well, that would be in mind the Cubs winning 9 games somewhere along the way, and who knows how this team would do, but no, I think the Brewers like I said, they'll be fine. They'll win the NL Central fairly comfortably. I could see a world where maybe it gets down to like 5, maybe 4.5 games if the Cubs can really turn it on now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. I mean, it'll these next few games will show us like who the Brewers really are. Are they going to be actual playoff contenders this year? Is their pitching as good as we've seen with Freddie Peralta and the back end of their bullpen? So it'll be an interesting 9 stretch of games, and either the Brewers are frauds or sadly they might be contenders.
We'll see. And they get to go up against in that Philly series. They get to go up against Suarez, Wheeler, and Nola.
Good. Yeah.
So
just throw them all at them. Yeah. Give them hell.
Yeah. So that'll be fun to watch. And then it'll be Brandon Pfaadt, Erod, and Ryan Nelson in that Arizona series.
Yeah, Pfaadt has been okay this year.
So we'll see how that all shakes out. But speaking of a team in the NL West, we're going to go and shift our focus to the presumptive NL MVP. I believe the first DH to win MVP potentially. And that is Mr. Shohei Ohtani, because he just tied his career high with his 46th home run on Sunday against the Cleveland Guardians. In their win, the Dodgers machine just keeps on rolling. They are a game ahead of the Phillies right now for the 1 seed in the National League. Best run differential in the NL at 119. Actually, second best, behind the Brewers. But second best run differential in the National League at 119. 29 games over 500. Like, what else can you say that hasn't already been said about the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani?
I'm going to say 2 things. One of them is going to be a statement. One of them is going to be a question. Okay. 1, Cubs play the Dodgers next 3 games. I'm going to say this. Yes. I can't wait to watch Shohei Ohtani. I can't. I'm just going to say it. I'm so excited to watch Shohei Ohtani. The Cubs play at like 9 o'clock Central Time tonight, so I'll be up all night watching it. I can watch a little bit of football, then you get into baseball. Anyway, my question. When the hell did Shohei Ohtani start stealing bases? Like, his last time that he started stealing bases was 26 in 2021. And now he's stolen 46. Is it because he's not pitching? What is this? Does Dave Roberts have something on him? Or like, It's got to be because he's not pitching.
I that's the only way I can see it. And he's already broken his career high in WAR. It's at 7.2 right now. And he doesn't pitch and he doesn't play defense.
No. Which, all right, I'm going to say three things. I said my first two. I'm going to ask another question.
Mm-hmm.
He's performed this well. Do you think the Dodgers don't let him pitch? Do you think Shohei Ohtani's pitching career is over?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, because if we take a look at it, let's take a look at their starting rotation this year.
Well, it's not that bad, but it's
been okay. It's been okay. Let's Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yamamoto, by the way, makes his comeback on Tuesday versus the Cubs.
I was gonna say
Yamamoto versus Imanaga on Tuesday.
Ooh. Fun. Oh, I'm so happy about that. It's just making me cry. Gavin Stone. Who else has made starts for them? Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller, Jack Flaherty, who's going to be a free agent, Clayton Kershaw. Like, there's some good pieces, but I think Buehler's a free agent. Bobby Miller has been terrible. Clayton Kershaw might retire. Jack Flaherty's probably going to leave. So I don't think the Dodgers can afford not to have him pitch.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And how's Flaherty? Did you say something about Flaherty? How's Flaherty?
He's going to be a free agent, but he's great. He's 5-1 with a 2.61 ERA since been traded to the Dodgers.
So I guess you kind of have two options then, right? You let Shohei pitch. You're not paying him a lot of money because he
deferred everything.
Right. So they're only paying him like $2 million a year or something. So you go out, you get for sure ace. Maybe it's Flaherty, maybe Glasnow redefines himself, whatever. Or you let Shohei pitch, but you risk that his overall, like, you just have to weigh the options. Is he overall? Is he more of a contributor to just being a hitter, or being a hitter and a pitcher? And if he's a hitter and a pitcher, he's going to back off the hitting a little bit, or back off the 46 stolen bases. It's been proven the more bases you steal, the more runs you score. So,
yeah. So it's interesting because this is a pretty good free agency class in terms of pitchers. You have Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Jack Flaherty, Sean Manaea is going to be a free agent. Shane Bieber is going to be a free agent. Severino, Quintana, Yusei Kikuchi, Merrill Kelly, Walker Buehler, Pivetta, Michael Lorenzen, John Means. So there's some pretty good free agent pitchers that are going to be available. So if the Dodgers really wanted to, heck, not Patrick. I mean, no, not Robbie. I mean, Charlie Morton's going to be a free agent. Frankie Montas could be a free agent. So there's some good guys out here. If the Dodgers are like, you know what, we're paying you $2 million a year. You're going to get the rest of it after your contract is over. Just load up on pitching and just have him hit. Or maybe even teach him to play like first base or something.
Yeah. Or you could keep him as a pitcher, have him close games. I think that wasn't that like a thought that that was going to happen with the Angels or something. Go in there, close games.
Maybe.
He could go hit 4 times and go to the bullpen, warm up.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers really don't have a defined closer. I mean, Evan Phillips has the most saves with 18, but they've used Daniel Hudson. They traded for Michael Kopech. They don't have like a Kenley Jansen anymore, who's like their defined closer. So he might not be as. He might. I
thought Blake Treinen was like.
I don't. He's pitched in 41 games, but he's more of like one of their setup guys rather than their closer. Because he only has 1 save on the year, but 11 holds. So I could see a world where they decide to do that with Shohei, where he could do that. But I don't know, because they may either decide he's too valuable as a starter not to do it,
Right.
or
Right.
who knows. I think at the end of the day, I think having a above average to all-star level starter is more valuable than having an extra 20 stolen bases at
Yeah.
the end of
For
the
sure.
day. So it'll be interesting to watch, though, to see what they decide to do. But I think more likely not, they'll probably let him pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's just something that that the Dodgers are going to definitely think about. If do we want Otani to do what he did in Anaheim to do for us now? And then you kind of, you risk more injury with that, because he had Tommy John, right? And so that's why he's only hitting.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think again, I just think it's something the Dodgers will think about. I won't be surprised if he ends up starting games and hitting like he was in Anaheim, but it'll be interesting to see. You just have to get as much value as you can out of him. So.
Yeah. So we will see what they decide to do. But, it's time to talk about a true legend of baseball. Not the OG two-way player, a guy who has struck out Freddie Freeman and also hit a crap ton of home runs. And he returns to Wrigley Field this weekend. And that, of course, is what I'm going to call the Italian stallion, Anthony Rizzo. First time back at Wrigley Field after being traded to the Yankees 3 years ago. Life comes at you fast. It was 3 years ago the last time Anthony Rizzo was at Wrigley Field. His first time as a visitor since I think he was a San Diego Padre back in like 2011 or 2010.
Yeah.
So it's been a hot minute since he's in that opposing clubhouse. He didn't do much in the series. He went 2 for 10 with a couple of singles and a couple of walks. Yankees did take 2 of 3, including 2 shutouts. But as the Cubs always do, they get the better of Garrett Cole, with Jameson Taillon getting the win against his former Pirates teammate. This was the scene when Rizzo took his first at-bat at Wrigley. They let him get a standing ovation and wave to the crowd. The Cubs audio played his old walk-up song when he came up for the first time.
They played it first at bat in all 3 games too.
I didn't realize they played it at every game for his first at bat. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see much of it just because I've had an insanely busy schedule, but man, this just feels like a gut punch, but in a weirdly good way. Just to see him back, it just sucks to see him in a Yankees jersey. I hope at some point when like the Cubs finally kind of get their stuff together, that he comes back for like one last ride and retires as a Cub.
Yeah, I'd be totally fine with it. The interesting thing about this weekend, the Cubs had their Hall of Fame weekend. It was Aramis Ramirez and Kerry Wood that got inducted to the Cubs Hall of Fame. So to me, it was like a little foreshadowing because obviously Anthony Rizzo is going to make it to the Cubs Hall of Fame. So that was really cool to see. But dude, it was so watching the first game and watching the tribute video and everything. It's just like everybody there, even Rizzo himself knew, was like, why am I here? Like, why am I on the Yankees? Like, I remember him saying in an interview a little while ago, like right after he got traded, was like, I never thought in my life that I'd get traded. But he defined the Cubs. Like he was on that really, really bad 2014 team. And he was on the 2015, 2016, 2017 run where they made 3 straight NLCSs. And he was a prominent figure in all 3 of those years. So it was kind of emotional for sure. But, what are you going to do, right? Baseball's business at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, just what he meant. And I think you kind of hit on it. I saw someone say, and I agree with it, he was this generation's Mr. Cub. He was this generation's Ernie Banks for a lot of a lot of people our age, a lot of people in like their 30s, he was their like Mr. Cub, just because he was even part of those bad like 2012, 2013 teams as well.
Right.
Like he
Yeah.
he went through all of it. He went through all
Yeah.
of it. So to see him come back and be welcomed as he should have, and I mean, it's been a crazy year. The fact that the Cubs have had Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, and Anthony Rizzo all back at Wrigley this year.
Yeah. The reunion tour was finally like Rizzo was the last one to come back to Wrigley. So I was thinking like you always look at the one trade that I've been looking at the most, obviously, has been Pete Crow Armstrong for Javier Baez. So you kind of just hope that Kevin Alcantara will be, a really good force in the Cubs organization. I know he's been really good in AAA and hasn't come up yet, but it'll be interesting to see what he does, and hopefully, the Cubs ended up getting the right guy for the very right guy in Rizzo. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we are still waiting on Caleb Killian to figure his things out. And then I always forget the other guy the Cubs got in the Chris Bryant trade. He always slips my memory.
Golly.
It was an outfielder. I know that.
It wasn't Brennan Davis, was it? Because they drafted
him.
Gosh damn. I look this up all the time too. Oh, it was Alexander Canario.
Yes. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, and he's had a cup of coffee a couple times, but
yeah.
I got like my two favorite Anthony Rizzo moments of all time were games that I've been to. I saw his last game in a Cubs uniform versus the Cincinnati Reds. So I saw that game, but there was another game versus the Mets a long time ago. It was probably actually during the 2016 season, actually. The Cubs were wearing throwback uniforms that day, like the old like 80s, like blue. They were pinstripes, but they had the blue sleeves and like the blue collar and whatnot. And he hit 2 home runs that day. Like that was like Rizzo was my favorite player growing up. So those were like 2 moments that like stick out the most to me. I don't know if you have a memory like that of like going to a Cubs game and Rizzo doing something.
I actually do, but it wasn't during a game. It was right before, actually. So, not long story short, I'll just tell the whole story. So, this was during my sophomore year of high school. It was in the middle, right at the start of September, right at the end of August. And it was fun. Me and my stepdad, we ended up going to a Cubs game at Miller Park when it was still called Miller Park. And this was during the 2016 Cubs season. And I got to skip out on cross-country practice for a day, which was really nice. I loved it, but it was nice to get that day. We drove up, and I brought my mitt. And when we got there, Anthony Rizzo was taking BP, and we were sitting in the upper part of the right field bleachers. I don't know if you've ever been to Miller.
I've seen it. I've never been there.
It's above the bullpen. It's above the bullpen. And he's just launching stuff, and he launches one right at us. My stepdad's ready with his hands to catch it. I stick out my glove ahead of him and catch it. And then we are just in a mad dash to like get to the other side, get to the Cubs dugout. And right as we got there, he was heading into the dugout. I still haven't gotten him to sign it yet. But the fun part of it is that what was it? 3 years later, when I'm going to Marquette, we got to sit in on Len Casper and Jim Desai's broadcast for a little bit because Len's a Marquette alum. And
love Len Casper.
I got Len to sign that baseball.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's pretty cool.
Len Casper, we obviously grew up with him, so he was like one of my broadcasting idols.
Right, mine too. Like Rizzo's autograph is really good, but man, if I got Casper's autograph, I'd be like, you know what? All right, fine. But I mean, you got Anthony Rizzo sign Jackson's ball. You probably will never see this, but
yeah. If I hadn't been busy, I would have tried at least to get a ticket for this series against the Yankees and like get him to sign it and kind of tell him the story. But no, I think overall, I think the thing I just always will stick in my head is the tarp catch. I think that was against the Brewers at Wrigley, where he fell into the stands after catching it because he had like several tarp catches. But no, I think the last one is him just pocketing the baseball at the end of Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously, it's a guy who's going to make it into the Cubs Hall of Fame, and he might get maybe a few Hall of Fame votes. I mean, he won a Gold Glove in 4 straight seasons or something like that. Was it in the MVP race? Finished second one year to Chris. Wasn't the year that Chris Bryant won it? Did he finish second?
Let's see. Let me look up Anthony Rizzo on Baseball Reference really quick.
2016. No, he finished 4th.
Oh, okay.
But he finished 4th in back-to-back years. So, there's that. But no, I mean, what he meant to the Cubs organization and to us is just, regular old fans. Like, it's a huge deal for the Cubs. And hopefully, he can have like a little retirement season. He doesn't have to play all that much. He can just be there. Be Craig Counsell's bench coach or something.
Yeah, and just in his full seasons from 2012 to 2020, Anthony Rizzo hit 228 home runs, nearly 750 RBIs, hit 274, 374 on base, 492 slug. In 1,200 games for the Cubs, he averaged 135 per year with the Cubs.
Wow, that's impressive.
Since arriving in 2012 in a trade.
I know. And the Red Sox drafted him, and then he got traded to the Padres, and then the Cubs traded him. Man, both the Red Sox and the Padres got to be just kicking themselves on that trade.
Yeah, and I think the Cubs just gave up Scott Clevenger or something.
Yeah,
in that deal,
it was not.
It was something
trade. Let's look that up. Baseball Savant's got it.
Let's see.
Andrew Cashner and
Cashner. That's what it was.
I'm not even gonna. Another guy too. I think probably South Korean. I can't go on that name. So he never even played Major League Baseball. So
yeah, okay. I was just trying to look for it, but yeah, no. That's just they basically gave up Andrew Cashner for a top 5 ML first baseman in his prime and a World Series. So shout out to Anthony Rizzo forever. We appreciate everything you did for the Cubs. Hopefully one day you'll be back in those Cubby blue pinstripes instead of those ugly Yankee pinstripes. We will always appreciate you for everything that you did. So we'll go ahead and take one more commercial break, and then we will be right back.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Sorry. Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call our guy Jeff Wartepney at 704-464-4544, 4644544. Let them know that Beer versus Ivy and Third Down Thursday sent you, and that Jeff is the Anthony Rizzo of insurance.
Yes, let's go.
We finally got one. We finally got one.
I think that one in itself makes up for two. So makes up for the other. So we should be good there.
Alrighty. We have officially hit near the end of our show. We are in the bottom of the ninth. Anything else you want to say or want to plug real quick before we get out of here?
No, not really. Other than TDT, we got a lot of football content coming out. We got recaps coming out end of the day today and into tomorrow. We got a lot of writers working really, really hard on their previews. MJ's been working really hard, and Kenny and Jack on the content end, just making sure stuff gets out. So hats off to all those guys. Make sure to check out MJ's and Bruce's show on Thursday. They always have wild fun with football. So if you're looking for more football talk than just the little sprinkle Jackson and I give you, check out them on Thursdays. Jackson will make an occasional appearance there. I'll make an occasional appearance there every once in a while. So if you like to see your Ivy and Ivy faces, check us out there too. But no, that's all I got.
Everyone's been working their butts off with the start of the NFL season. We had game previews, season previews. Like you said, we'll have recaps coming out. Any and all breaking news with our beat writers from our NFL teams coming out as it happens. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a story about Tyreek Hill being arrested before an NFL game in week 1, because there's always some sort of oddity. But don't forget about our baseball content too. I think Carter just had an article come out in the last day or two about what the new Triple Crown stats should be for baseball, which I think is really interesting. I'll be making sure to give that a read once we're done here. Obviously, once the playoffs start, we'll get some things rolling there with the playoff previews and just reactions as the things go along. So keep it tuned to everything Third Down Thursdays. We have a bunch of shows. We also have the breakdown on Tuesday with Connor Davis and Nate Ness. Those are on Tuesdays. So please make sure to stay tuned for that. I don't know if I'm missing any other shows that we have. I think it's just the big 3 right now. So please tune in to everything Third Down Thursdays. Go to our social medias, go to our own and personal social media accounts, and head on over to thirddownthursdays.com. Brayden, thank you once again for being our closer, our Mariano Rivera, our Trevor Hoffman, our Dennis Eckersley. How
about prime Carlos Marmol? He had one good season.
Oh no, you did not just. That man gave me PTSD. I'm sorry. I can allow no Carlos Marmol praise on this channel. There will be no Carlos Marmol praise on my watch.
Didn't he? He was an
PTSD.
All-star.
Mickey Mouse All-Star. That's what I have to say to that. Nah. I can pick out specific memories of him crapping the bed. I will take a no Carlos Marmol praise on this show.
Okay, what about Ted Lilly? Can I get a Ted Lilly?
Oh, Ted Lilly's the guy. Ted Lilly's the homie around here. All my homies love Ted Lilly.
I think you're forgetting, though, that Carlos Marmol, though, finished 26 in MVP voting in 2008. 2007.
No. We're not even talking top 30 now. We're saying top 30 MVP finish. No.
I'm just reporting what Baseball Reference has in here.
Baseball Reference is part of the deep state of the Carlos Marmol propaganda train. I will not stand for this.
Yes. Let the hate flow through you. But anyway, Jackson, thank you for having me on. I promise I won't make any more Carlos Marmol references. I lived through that pain too.
I will make sure you live up to that promise. But no, seriously, thank you so much for coming on again. We'll make sure to have you on who knows? Maybe we'll have you on for a Cubs playoff preview if some miracles happen at the end of the season. But who knows? Who knows? But again, that'll do it for us for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next week. Hopefully, Cy will be back for the first time in 3 weeks at that point. So we'll see if he can get his stuff together. But
Come on, Cy.
For all of us here at For Beat River Society and Third Down Thursdays, we'll see you all next week.